the network of associates that we have that we work in and call upon depending on the project are not limited to just sales and marketing or to general management. Whether it's product registration, whether it's supply chain, IT, social media, everything, all of our network of associates who we work together with on a regular basis on these projects, they're all from direct selling.
Now, one of the big things you're going into a new region, one of the big things, Christian, is to make sure that you're not falling foul of the law. You know, that every T is crossed and every I is dotted, because if you don't get your legal side sorted out, if you're not compliant with the laws, and that can sink you.
Yeah, I think there are multiple aspects regarding compliance going to a new market. I think that's the company side, the legal side, the tax side, registration, the company, setting it up properly, etc. Then another big aspect is products, product registration, having the right claims in place, using only claims that you are allowed to use in that market, make sure that your field force is using them. The third aspect is the compensation plan. Obviously, it needs to be according to legislation, and there are variances. And in all those aspects, there are variants in the markets. Even in the EU, you think, okay, EU is considered one market. We can live where we want, we can travel, whatever. But when it comes to company setup, regulations, legislations, it's still different. And the devil is in the detail.
And you can have it right in one country and think, well, everything is perfect here. You go into another country and suddenly those rules can bite you. I mean, you know, you've got some horror stories, I know. Let's hear a horror story.
There were cases in a Southern European country where the company basically made a mistake and created an environment which made all the distributors at the beginning to so-called agents, which is a total different legal business model that was what is originally the intention was. And it was very, very difficult to draw that back and make thousands of people understand that they need to change their contract with the company which also already was existing.
The same thing in South Africa. If you call a couple of things, if you call your person an agent, or if you tell them that they may not join another company, or they may not go out and sell another product, or then automatically you are deemed to be their employer. And you have to take out PAYE, you have to pay the minimum wage. So in actual fact, if you get it wrong, it can have far-reaching and devastating ramifications, because suddenly you're employing 35,000 people and paying them all minimum wage, which, you know, probably not the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. There's a term in the German language called Scheinselbstständigkeit, which is I guess a quasi self-employment in a sense, and basically the law says that if you are self-employed, then you must have multiple sources of income. You can't just have one source of income if you're self-employed, or you will be deemed an employee of that company. And that particular law is very sensitive, especially in multi-level marketing, and these people really have a thing to do with. You have to be very, very careful with every word that is documented and put in paper, so you don't cross that line, and really make sure that your bonus systems and the way you handle the payments and so on and so forth, that they all are in line, and make sure that those people are not getting into trouble, or getting themselves into trouble.
And this is where you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You're starting a company like this, you actually need to get expert help. You know,
I think there's another very important aspect when you go to another country or you plan a global rollout or a multi-market rollout. You might know the regulations and the legislation. And in your home market, you might use and you might know how it's applied in practice. In other markets, it can be totally different. So in one market, you might get a warning for something that you do, and you are used to know that and you are willing to take the risk and you do it, but that doesn't mean it's the same in a new market. So you could be fined for that, you could whatever, you could lose your license. So be very careful. The one thing is, you know your legislation, you know your regulation, but you really know how it works in practice.
Yeah. And for that you need expert advice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't just go to your local lawyer or your local accountant or your local business broker and say, hey, listen, come tell me what's going on here. You know, I recently went through a due diligence with a very, very reputable company. And I was amazed to find, I mean, this is one of the big 5 auditing firms in the world, and I was amazed to find that they had zero understanding of our industry. You know, so you can go out there and you can find the best people in the world, unless you're finding people who actually know about our business and who understand the ramifications of getting it wrong. You're wasting your money.
What I'd recommend to anybody who wants to go to Europe, if somebody wants to expand into Europe from Asia or from the United States or from wherever, is if they don't want to contact us, which would be my first go-to, is contact us at Dissect and we'll help you. If we don't think we can help you, we'll make recommendations of the people who we think will. But your first stop could also be going to CELDIA, which is the European Direct Selling Association in Brussels. And under CELDIA, in addition to all of the member companies, there are also preferred suppliers who have been vetted and approved to be on the CELDIA website. And those are all people who, there you will find lawyers who know direct selling. There you will find accountants who know direct selling, and so on and so forth. So that would be a recommendation I would make for people who are thinking about going to Europe. But you should call us first.
Yes, absolutely. That goes without saying. Yeah. Well, look, the issue, if you go there, what you're doing is you're getting one person here, one person there in various different areas of the business. If you come to Dissect,
one-stop shop.
One-stop shop, because you guys, it's not a case of we are specialists in MLM. You've lived it. You've been there. You've been out in the field. You've actually recruited people. You know every aspect of this business from end to end. I mean, you guys have run a multi-billion-dollar operation in Europe and the East. Yeah. Multi-billion-dollar. So the credibility you have, obviously, you know, for any company.
And what I would say, you know, it's you know, billions sound big, but the network of associates that we have that we work in and call upon, depending on the project, are not limited to just sales and marketing or to general management. Whether it's product registration, whether it's supply chain, IT, social media, everything, all of our network of associates who we work together with on a regular basis on these projects, they're all from direct selling. And so you don't have to teach them the language. They know the language. They know exactly what it is, that the support that you're looking for and how to do it. And that's what we pride ourselves in.
And you mentioned earlier on, well, logistics is not a big deal. But in actual fact, logistics is a huge deal in our space, because you're not dealing with like sending 10,000 units to a retail store. You're dealing with sending 3 units to Mrs. Smith who lives wherever, and it is a completely different animal. And your whole pick-pack process, you need, I mean, if you talk about logistics, it's a different approach to logistics than anything most people have ever been involved with. Sure. And you guys have got some logistics expertise within your team.
As well. Not limited to.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about, let's just talk about infrastructure, because very often in our space, infrastructure is different to the infrastructure in a traditional business. For example, we need places to train people.
When companies go international, without fail, they use the same approach. We call it a cookie cutter principle. They go from their home market and they go into the next market, and they have a distribution manager, a finance manager, a marketing manager, a sales manager, a general manager, and maybe they have somebody for IT. And that's kind of the way you go into that market and you build that up. But if you're doing that in multiple markets and you're going across Europe or you're going across Asia or wherever, South Latin America, and you're doing that, all of a sudden you're gonna see that there's gonna be differences in your sales successes, different levels of sales, different things coming out. But you've got people sitting in Portugal and in the UK and Italy and wherever else, and they're doing the same thing. And so you've got to look at your structures from a discipline point of view and say, okay, we don't necessarily have to have what must we have in the market that gives the best possible support to our distributors and our field representatives in that marketplace, and what could be done remotely, what could be done through some kind of a central, and the point is that structures in the corporation, some can be global in their reporting lines, and others can be local. And that is a little bit something that we've kind of developed over time. It's a little bit unique maybe to this field, that you can and should look at that, because you're going to take an awful lot of cost out of your organization. It's just unnecessary if you can look at it from what must we have in the marketplace to what could we do remotely from somewhere else. Yeah.
Or have somebody that can fly around and touch base with everyone, because it's a, you know, it's not a full-time thing that they need to be just direction oriented.
Yeah, but it's not an easy thing if you are a newcomer to define the right level of what is local, what is regional, and what is global.
Yeah, but that's where you guys come in.
And I recommend to have this conversation with somebody who is from our industry, and not with one of the big five, for example, that would come in and charge a horrendous amount of money to just basically tell you that since you're already decentralized, you need to be centralized, and if you're already centralized, you need to be decentralized. And if you just do that every 5 years, you're going to have a restructuring taking place every 5 years, because that's just how they make their money. Sorry, without being disrespectful to a big business and a big industry, but to me, the most important thing is for everybody in the organization, potentially with help from the outside, to get it done right and keep it structured and keep the process going in the right direction. But let's agree as an organization to stop the pendulum for each and every discipline, for every department, if you will, and stop the pendulum where we want, either central, decentral, or a hybrid of that somewhere, and stick to it. And organize yourself to that solution and to that end, and then stick to it and don't change it and make it work, because every decision is a good decision, and every decision can work. Decentral, hybrid, central, every one of them works as long as you stick to it. What do companies do that are frustrated and are looking for some magic pixie dust to make something happen? Is they call in one of the big names again that we all know, and they take it again and be, okay, well, this is my turn. Now I'm going to decentralize, and now I'm going to centralize. And I'm beating this point up. But it's so frustrating to see the millions and millions and millions of dollars that are going out the door and ending up in Chicago or New York or wherever else, and being paid in big bonuses to other companies' employees instead of into our employees, because we just didn't stick with what we had decided 3, 4, 5 years ago, and we thought, okay, now it's time to change it again. Boy, that was a long breath, but it's something that is really, really important, especially if you're talking about an organization that's starting to get big and going global. You might be, I'm making these comments about companies that are probably already $500 million or $1 billion in size, but there's a lot of those guys out there as well.